Hello, Posse Parker members. I have received the book. It is very thin. It is only like, let's see here, 59 pages. I might be able to read this whole thing in one sitting. We'll see how long that takes because I don't want to make a real long video. But you can consider it as your nighttime story if you want to. I'm going to have some little scenic background going with some music. And then that way, I think it'd be better if you just hear my voice and you don't necessarily see me, so you can listen while you're doing something else. So let's get this going here. And I have it really loud.
Volume 12.
That's still too loud. I don't want it to drown me out. Well, you know what? I might just do it where I don't show any of the where I'm not showing any of the, or listening to any of the music. You might just let it have the background. What do you think? Let's see. Okay, we'll just do it a little bit. We'll see how that goes. Okay. So the name of the book is Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side by Jamal T Millwood for Kimberly A. Porter. And Jamal T Millwood is not the person that published this real name. I think his first name is Chris. He didn't give a last name when I seen him talking to a person about the book. This was a name that Tupac used. I can't remember what it was for, but it was like a fake name that he would use. So he said he used it because he put it out in the same month that Tupac was unalive, and so it was a play off of that. So the book was dedicated to him by using that name and to Kim Porter. Chapter 1, Introduction. Soon after high school, I started landing modeling jobs. I couldn't believe it. It was all happening so fast. I met my husband, father of my oldest child, and one of my oldest friends in life, Al B. Sure. It was a whirlwind romance. I was only 19 when we were married, and no, it didn't work out. Al is still one of my best friends to this day. Our son Quincy is such a talented and wonderful young man. At that time, I had no idea my relationship with Al was going to introduce me to the man that I would spend the better part of my adult life with, a man whom I would love and cherish, but eventually fear and hate. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I will say, although I knew what was going on, I turned a blind eye many times. Here I have to tell this truth. Unfortunately, because deep down I knew everything that was happening, but I lied to myself a lot. He was so charming, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a devil, and I fell for it. This story must be told, despite the fact it will hurt my children. I cannot hide it any longer. Sean Combs must be stopped. Chapter 2, Humble Beginnings. I was born to loving parents Jake Porter and Sarah L. Porter in the Peach State of Georgia. All through Columbus High School, where I graduated in 1988, I knew I was going to be famous. In the 10th grade, one of my best friends, Tina, said to me, "You won't make it here in Georgia." I knew if I really wanted to be famous, I would have to leave my hometown and my home, Georgia. That conversation was so important as I look back now. It changed my life. I met Al while I was working in the industry. He was so dope and charming, and I had such a crush on him. We were married before I knew it, and Quincy was on the way. But I was young, and it just felt like it wasn't going to last. It was a little heated between us after we separated, but we got past that quickly. He is just a super dope guy and an amazing father. Though we separated, we are forever bonded through Quincy. Thank you, Al, and I will always love you. When I met Sean, he was cool. I didn't think much of him at the time. He was just another guy at the label. Uptown was huge, and we were all living our best life. But Sean continued to lay on the charm, and before I knew it, we were dating. As a young single mom at one of the hottest companies in the world, life couldn't get any better. Then it did. My boyfriend was getting even bigger. He and Clive would hang out a lot, but I didn't think anything of it. I mean, that was his boss, and he was doing things bigger than most men dare to even dream. Then it happened. Okay, I was a little bit of a freak. I really enjoyed myself with my partner, and toys are one thing. But I never imagined having a man I was dating asking me to use a toy on him. The first time, he said he just wanted to experiment, try something new. I was grossed out, but he kept begging. He said it would only be this one time, and he was just curious. I was only 20 at the time. I said, what the hell? I hated it. He bled from it, and there was shit on it. I left him alone after that. Chapter 3, Second Chances. Sean kept reaching out, and I kept ignoring his calls. Eventually, in a few weeks, we ran into each other at an event. He came over, he sat next to me. We were cordial. He flattered me by saying, "You look so amazing." I replied with a simple, "Thanks, Sean." I tried to get up and leave, but he pulled my arm. As I turned to him, he looked deep into my eyes and said, "Look, what happened between us was weird, but I really care about you. Can we?" He paused, and I tried to use this as my attempt to escape. I pulled my hand back and said, "Sorry, Sean, I have to go." "Please, I think I'm falling in love with you. Can we talk?" My breath was taken away. Did he say he loved me? It was so fast, I wasn't aware of this as his manipulation tactic. Not yet. God, I was so young, so naive. He continued, "Let's just have dinner." And I fell for it. 2 days later, we went out for drinks at a lounge in Lower Manhattan. The place was nice. Sean was really coming up and pulling out all the stops to impress me. He pulled the chair out for me to sit. Back then, he was always a gentleman. He smiled and said, "Look," as he sat across from me. I hated it, and I never want to do it again. Give me another chance. Over coffee the next morning, I decided to give him another chance. For the next year and a half, things seemed pretty normal. It was fun. Things were going great, and we were living the dream that I dreamt about throughout my youth. Sean and Clive were working on Bad Boys, and he had his first couple of artists. He picked up Craig Mack, then some rapper from the West Coast called Notorious B.I. to help Chris develop. He was collaborating with the biggest names in hip-hop to make it happen. Things couldn't be more amazing. Then he asked me to do it again. It was insane, Sean said. "Baby, I can't stop thinking about it." What the hell are you talking about?" I responded. Sean continued, "I just can't stop thinking about that night. It was amazing. Can you screw me one more time, please?" I became infuriated. "Why don't you go to Clive? He is the one screwing you, isn't he?" Then Sean hit me. This was the first time, but he slapped me so hard before I could. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break here. We'll just move this over. So guys, what do you think so far? This is very intriguing. For this to be such a small book, I believe it's going to be loaded with stuff. And a little gross, too. So, I don't know. I should keep y'all on your seats, and I'll just read up to chapter 4. And, yeah, we'll just see how you guys can do with me just reading 4 chapters. And then I'll read, let's see how many chapters are there. There are 19 chapters. I could spread this over the whole week, couldn't I? Alright, let's get back to it. Where did I stop? Why don't you go to Clive? He is the one screwing you, isn't he? Then Sean hit me. This was the first time that he slapped me hard. Before I could form words, he began to beg. I'm sorry. Holding my cheek where he hit me, I turned and ran off. That should have been it, but I guess I am a glutton for punishment. He sent flowers and a bunch of expensive gifts. Then we bumped into each other at another industry event. He sat down next to me. This was deja vu. Sean started. Imagine running into you here. Get the fuck away from me, I forced out. He became more serious as he said, look, baby, I'm sorry. But I just glared at him. There's nothing you can ever say to me, nothing. After an awkward silence, he finished. You know I love you. I love your son. He's my son. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll do anything. I'm sorry. Shit. He can be so sweet. Here we go with the love thing. This time is not failing. This time is not falling in. I think they meant to say this time I'm not falling in. He was great with Quincy, and to be honest, despite everything, I missed him. As we stood to walk away, I remember hearing myself saying, call me later. What the fuck is wrong with me? Chapter 4, Forgiveness. Sean arrived with flowers in hand. He wanted to see Quincy. He was so good with him, and Quincy ran over to hug him. I felt my heart melting. He asked Quincy, how you doing, Tiger? Quincy looked so innocent as he responded, I'm good. I missed you. Sean's response sounded genuine. I missed you too. We'll hang out tomorrow, okay? Okay. Sean gave him a little love tap on the butt. It's bedtime. Quincy replied, okay, good night, as he turned to head towards his bedroom. Here was the man I fell in love with, but what was I thinking? Shit, not only does he want butt plugs, he slapped the shit out of me. So why am I talking to him? They say that love is blind, but it is stupid too. As Quincy left, Sean looked at me and smiled. Baby, let's go have some fun. The babysitter is on the way. I just want to show you a good time. I was so mad at myself for melting as I said, okay. We sat on the couch laughing and genuinely having a good time when the doorbell rang. The babysitter had arrived, and so we left. As we exited the house, a big man climbed out of the limo and opened the door for us. He wore a sharp suit with a gun, noticeably tucked under his arm. I thought to myself, he could have made it invisible, or did he want me to see it? Despite my reservations, Gene was a sweetheart. He was very courteous and polite as he tipped his head and said, good evening, ma'am. Gene drew a smile out of me as I responded, hello. Gene and I would see each other a lot after this day. Chapter 5, Sean Kneels. The year passed, and thankfully we didn't have many bad arguments. Although Sean was strangely getting into voodoo, he would put curses on people, and I wasn't sure how to respond to that craziness. My problem as a single mother was I wanted to be married. He always had excuses and delays when he came to committing to marriage. His label was blowing up, Biggie dropped, and it was just about over. He also signed Mary J. Blige, and of course, when I found out he slept with her, we fought. He claimed it was a mistake, and my stupid ass took him back again. Sean asked for a threesome with her. At first, I was mad, but Mary was beautiful. It was our first threesome, and I loved it. Mary was sexy. I would not be doing this a lot, but it was so hot. I was young and exploring my sexuality, and it was enticing. Over the years, we brought other women into our bedroom periodically, and we were happy. That is until one day I came home to a situation that went from awkward to a nightmare. Quincy was with the babysitter, and Sean was sitting with Al B. Sure at the dinner table. I had a child with Al, and Sean was the father in Quincy's life. The awkwardness of it all, of us being together, had dissolved a long time ago, but it was still weird that they were here in my home together alone. I sat down and we had drinks. It was fun. The conversation was cool until it wasn't. Al was a little loose after a couple of drinks. I remember him saying, "It's still weird seeing you with my friend, but you're happy, so I'm happy for you guys." Sean responded, "Thanks, man. Me and you, we've shared so much." Al replied coolly, "Weird." The conversation took an odd and awkward turn when Sean said, "We all been together sexually, but not together." I was shocked. For a moment, as quietness lingered in the room, I asked, "What do you mean by all together?" Al shifted uncomfortably, but Sean didn't hesitate. "You know, how we sometimes invite other people into our bed?" I couldn't believe it. "Oh, hell no. Sean, this is my son's father." Al said say something. What Al said was mind-boggling. "I don't know. It could be kind of hot. I miss you in that way." Although I couldn't believe Sean would do this, the truth was I still cared about Al. And this could be very hot. I just didn't want it messing up my relationship. And if things became awkward, how would it affect Quincy? So I asked, "Are you both sure?" I imagined both of them inside of me. I knew this would be awkward sexually. There would be some bumping of genitals, but what happened next, I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams. Al, then there's a lot of X's. I couldn't believe it. I stood there in shock. But when Sean, then there's a lot of X's. I ran out the room. This was too much. I couldn't. Sean called out to me, "Oh, come on, Kimmy." They didn't chase after me. They, then a whole bunch of X's. I couldn't get the image out of my mind. I couldn't be with Sean for a while, but that wouldn't be the last time I saw Sean in a compromising position. Not by a long shot. One day I found the vault where he kept all of his encounters with men. Yep, he kept a record of it, but that's for later. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. This is 18 minutes in, so I don't want to make the video too long. And we would pick up on chapter 6, so I've read 1 through 5. And the X's, you will have to add it in through what you believe is there, because the publisher did say that he did X out certain parts of her memoirs. So I'll read that little part one more time so that when I say X's, it's not me making that up. He just has like a whole bunch of X's. So it says Al, XXXXXX. I couldn't believe it. I stood there in shock. But when Sean, XXXXX, I ran out the room. This was too much. I couldn't. Sean called out to me, "Oh, come on, Kimmy." They didn't chase after me. They, XXXXX. So I'm assuming here it meant that they kept on doing what they was doing. They was having a threesome, but without her. It became a twosome. All right, I hope you enjoyed the reading. Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed it, we will continue. If you didn't, then I can stop here. I hope everybody had a great Sunday. Until tomorrow for chapter 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Good evening.